Just please stand as the family enters. You may be seated. My name is Kent Risley, and it's my honor to be able to join my voice with the families today as we come together to remember and honor the life of Mike Nader. And that's what we're here to do, to cherish his life, to share some memories, and to remind each other that even in the loss of this remarkable person, that we're not alone, that we have family and friends that are there with us and care for us. So we're here to grieve our loss and comfort one another. And this can also be a time that we can remember how our faith speaks to our grief. And so on behalf of the family, let me begin by saying they appreciate so much your presence here today. You were touched by Mike, and he touched your life in a special way, and in return you're here to bear witness to the impact that he and his family have had on your life. And your presence today surely is a blessing to them as they begin these tentative steps forward to a new normal without this amazing man. And they would love to hear your memories. In your memory folder, you might have noticed the card. And so as we go through the service today, if you would like to share a memory with them, a wonderful way to do that is just fill out that card. And then as you leave, there'll be a basket that you can place them in. Of course, you can also stay and visit with them and tell your own special stories with them as well. And on behalf of those that are present today, to you, the family, let me say on their behalf that they would want you to know that they're not here just because of their grief, but to share in your grief as well. And by our presence, we're asking God if we might be his hands of comfort, compassion at this time. So please know that our hearts go out to you, and you have our sympathy, and we are here for you and with you. It's so nice to think about how lives come together and entwine in such a way as to give us strength at times like this. In the Bible, this beautiful truth is expressed in the book of Ecclesiastes in chapter 4, where the writer says, "Two are better than one because they have a good return for their work. If one falls down, his friend can help him up. But pity the man who falls and has no one to help him up. Though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken." So at this time, we can envision how our lives do entwine in such ways to give us strength. But not only do we have special people in our lives, we also have a good shepherd that journeys through life with us. He is there to walk these valleys with us and to help us on our journey. Psalm 121 says it beautifully. "I will lift up my eyes to the hills. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. He will not let your foot slip. He who watches over you will not slumber. Indeed, he who watches over Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord will keep you from all harm. He'll watch over your life. The Lord will watch over your coming and going both now and forevermore." What a beautiful thought. The family wrote this wonderful tribute to Mike. Senior Master Sergeant retired Michael Roger Nader died after his battle with COVID-19 in Edmond, Oklahoma at the age of 65. Mike was born on July 14, 1955 in Fremont, Michigan to parents Walt and Laura Wismar. Mike enlisted in the United States Air Force as a security police officer on August 21, 1973. Upon re-enlistment, he transitioned to computer system support, where he found his true passion. He married Connie Novak, his high school sweetheart, on June 26, 1976. He graduated in 1986 with a bachelor's in computer science. As Mike's military career grew, so did his family. He is known to everyone for his caring demeanor, impeccable work ethic, and love for his family. Mike would serve 23 years, 5 months, and 10 days with the Air Force before retiring at Tinker Air Force Base. Mike received a number of awards to include the Meritorious Service Medal with 2 devices, Air Force Training Ribbon, Air Force Overseas Long Tour Ribbon, National Defense Service Medal and with 1 device, Air Force Longevity Service Award with 4 devices, Professional Military Education Ribbon with 2 devices, Air Force Organization Excellence Award with 2 devices, Air Force Good Conduct Award and Outstanding Unit Award 2nd device. Following retirement, Mike easily transitioned to the civilian side where he found a new family with LexisNexis Risk Solutions as a software engineer. Mike was best known for his family and love of them. He loved to travel and explore with his wife and grandkids. They have enjoyed a grand adventure every year since October 2007. Mike was always there to help his family, friends, and even strangers. He frequently volunteered with Habitat for Humanity, the Regional Food Bank of Oklahoma, and other local organizations. He always lived by the golden rule and expected everyone to do the same. He is survived by his wife, Connie Nader, daughter Jennifer Lynn Sloan and Patrick, grandchildren Nathan and Madeline Sloan, son Christopher, Michael Nader and Ashley, grandchildren Mason and Kaylee Nader, his siblings Ernie and Margie Nader, Rosemary Weber, Peggy and Don Boyd, Sheila and Ray Berry, Victoria Nader, and numerous nieces and nephews. He is preceded in death by his parents, Walt and Laura, siblings Graham and Betty Espinoza. The family would like to encourage donations to Make-A-Wish Oklahoma in lieu of flowers, and you can visit them online to donate. The family would also like to thank the caregivers and hospital staff at Integris Edmond ICU for their compassion and dedication to Mike's care. Well written. Let's pause and pray at this time. Our Father in heaven, we do recognize you as our creator and maker, and as such, you know us as no one else does. And so, Father, we ask you to pour out your blessings on this time of remembering and honoring Mike's life. To God, help us to cherish those memories we have and to carry them with us through life. So bless this time. In Jesus' name, amen. Mike did live a long and eventful life, and now let's enjoy this pictorial tribute to that life.
All that glitters is gold, and she's buying the stairway to heaven. When she gets there, she knows if the stores are all closed, with a word she can get what she came. And she's buying a stairway here. There's a sign on the wall, but she wants to be sure, 'cause you know sometimes words have two meanings. In a tree by the brook, there's a songbird who sings. Sometimes all of our thoughts are misgiven. It makes me wonder. Makes me wonder. There's a feeling I get when I look to the west, and my spirit is crying for leaving. In my thoughts I have seen rings of smoke through the trees, and the voices of those who stand looking. Ooh, it makes me wonder. Ooh, really makes me wonder. And it's whispered that soon, if we all call the tune, then the piper will lead us to reason, and a new day will dawn for those who stand long, and the forests will echo with laughter.
Well, it's obvious God gave you a very special gift in Mike's life, and that gift of love now brings grief at its loss. But I do hope you'll take the good memories that you have and in a very real way plant them deep within your heart. And there they can continue to blossom and grow and be a blessing in your life and a blessing in the lives of those with whom you come in contact. Helen Keller is quoted as saying, "What we've once enjoyed we can never lose. All that we love deeply becomes a part of us." Well, if she had it right, then there's an awful lot of love, and a lot of who you are is Mike. Mike grew up in Michigan, and those were pretty rough years. He had 7 brothers and sisters. He was the second to last child and the baby boy of the family. And his mom raised them all herself. She worked a lot, had 2 waitress jobs, and worked all the time to support those 8 children. He said he ate so many beans and growing up that he never liked them the rest of his life. He also talked about how bad their TV was. You had to get under a blanket and cover up the TV and yourself just to get it bright enough to be able to see it. Mike lived with his sister Peggy for a time and helped out on the farm. The kids were close growing up, and in these later years they were able to spend more time together. Time together was very special to Mike. They would go on trips to Michigan so they could all get together. Well, Mike and Connie were high school sweethearts. They met when she was a freshman and he was a senior, or at least they got together then. Mike graduated in 1973 and Connie in 1976, and he was the only person she ever dated. When he graduated, Mike joined the military in 1973, so they had a long-distance relationship. He would send her letters while he was gone, and he would call collect, and her mom made sure he paid for those collect calls as well, and he did. He did. When he would send a letter, he would put a note on the outside of the envelope that said, "Postman, postman, don't be slow. Take this letter and go, man, go." Connie cherished those letters and notes and has copies of that note on some of those envelopes in that scrapbook. She also has this note cut from those days and included in her scrapbook. It says, "Love that feeds on being together seems happy-go-lucky and fresh and new. But the love that grows with separation is deep and lasting, long and true." Well, that was true then, and it's true now. Connie would watch for the mailman every day. And if he didn't have a letter for her, he'd say, "Sorry, I don't have one today." But not only did Mike send letters, he would send her pictures. And, of course, they would talk for hours and hours on the phone. When Connie finally graduated in May, they waited until June to get married. June 26, 1976 in Fremont, Michigan. And they were married 44 years. And from the time they were married, he did his best to spoil Connie. If she wanted something, he figured out a way to make it happen. They were so close. Since they lived in so many different places away from family, they had to learn how to handle issues by leaning on each other. The two of them just had to figure it out together, and that made them stronger. And they did learn and experience much together, and they helped each other grow. When they first got married, remember Connie was very young, she had a way of slamming doors when she was angry. She had done it at home and worked with her parents, I guess, so she did the same thing with Mike until one day she came home and every door in the place was off. The bathroom doors, the bedroom doors, the cabinet doors. There wasn't a door left up in the place. And the message got through, and she hadn't slammed doors ever since. That fixed it. Well, they certainly were good together, and they did everything together. They would go out with friends together. And if you saw them out together, you often saw them holding hands. They were together all the time. They just loved being together. They were side by side except when they went to work. They also complimented each other. Connie loved basketball and Mike loved football, so they had OSU tickets for both. They had them for years. He would go to the basketball games with her, and she went to the football games with him. They all went together. And they were a very affectionate couple. They had a rule that they would never go to bed angry. And everyone remembers how he would speak to her in such an affectionate way. Well, Mike did enlist in the Air Force in 1973, did his basic training at Lackland Air Force Base. He started out in security police before moving to IT, and he liked what he did in IT and as a software engineer. He served all over, including Camp David once. Mike and the family were stationed all over. Whiteman's Air Force Base in Missouri, Keesler Air Force Base in Mississippi, and that's where Jennifer was born. Hickam Air Force Base in Hawaii, and Chris was born there. And that's where he started his scuba diving. He went a lot, almost every weekend. In those days, if you found something, you could keep it. And so he filled their freezer with lobster from those dives. He had it full. And so he was very sad when it went out and spoiled, and he lost all those lobsters. But he brought all kinds of things home from his diving in those days. They went on to Hill Air Force Base in Utah, Griffiths Air Force Base in Rome, New York, and then finally to Tinker Air Force Base, and the family moved to Edmond. Mike loved the camaraderie he found in the Air Force. He was also a structured person, so that fit him well. Mike was very accomplished in the Air Force. They have bins full of awards that he received, as well as his many decorations. It was very impressive. It shows how his abilities were acknowledged and appreciated by his officers. But he was very humble about it all and never mentioned his accomplishments. In the military, Mike was known for being a professional and for his leadership and mentoring. He started out as an airman and ended up as a senior master sergeant. Mike did retire after 23 years. He enjoyed his time in the Air Force and was very patriotic. He was big on duty to country. Mike was also the best of fathers. He could discipline when needed, and they definitely did not want their mom to say, "Wait till your father gets home," or to call him before he got home. But all of that discipline was in a good way. Since they were a military family, it was often just the four of them at the holidays. But they always had each other, and that made them really close. He stressed you have to take care of your family. He did whatever he could for his kids. He learned soccer so he could coach Chris's soccer team. In New York, Chris played hockey and Jennifer did figure skating, and both he and Connie were involved in their events. If the kids wanted to try something, he found a way to make it possible. Jennifer asked for a horse every Christmas. Instead, he found a place where she could work with horses and eventually bought a horse with her own money. He always taught them to work for what they got. He gave them a great work ethic. And he also taught them to appreciate what they have. The kids always knew that he could fix anything. So if something broke at school, they would tell their teacher that I can take it home and my dad can fix it. And then the pressure was on, but he'd fix that stapler or whatever it might be. They knew they could take anything to him and he could fix it. And that was true of anything. It might be something physical or it might be a broken relationship. They knew that they could go to him. He was a problem solver, and he would help them through. He would help them see the different perspectives and possible solutions. He was such a good father and so close to his children. He was the best man in Chris's wedding. Chris said he could find no better man. Mike did love his family. He also loved Connie's cooking. Not so much when they first married. Remember, she was pretty young. A good example was the gas stove that she put the frozen pizza in for pizza one evening on the cardboard. They went out for pizza that night. And in those early years, he got sick of her tuna noodle casserole. And he never learned to like it again. But Connie did become a very good cook. He loved her biscuits and gravy. He just loved all of her cooking. He loved food. When they would travel, he would book food excursions on the trips. It would be a time of taking cooking lessons on their travels. In Italy, they went into a lady's home and learned how to cook. In China, they had an emperor chef that had cooked for several presidents. He did enjoy cooking. He was known for his pumpkin cookies.